up? I'm Trenton with SoundlinkTV, as always, here with my epic at, what's this place called again?
Cafe Strudel, I think?
Yeah, Cafe Strudel.
Yeah, so we're here in
Shout out.
Yeah, thanks to them for letting us do this in here, I guess, because most restaurants are like, get out of here with that camera. So
no, they're being cool.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because like usually we have like a normal microphone, but it kind of feels like I'm doing a podcast now without the camera being there. So you gotta remember we're on camera too. But yeah, so we're here in Columbia, South Carolina. You guys are towards Valley Heart right now, and Old Solar, but unfortunately they had to go home. So well, some of them did. He's still here, but so yeah, how's this all going for you guys, especially dropping this new EP and everything?
The tour's going great, and the EP's also going great. It seems to be received well, and we're just having a blast. Yeah. Valley Heart's awesome, great band to tour with. So
as a band, as people, they're really like not good dudes. Really unquality people.
Yeah, they're getting hammered every night, right?
They're sweethearts, and yeah, the tour's going great. We like being out together and meeting people and getting to connect. People that the music means something to. It means a lot to us. So we haven't headlined in a while, so it's a different thing. So it's cool. We get to talk to people more, and we get to play longer sets. Yeah. So it's been really fun.
Yeah, speaking of the whole fan community thing, like some fans decided to take it upon themselves to create a whole like My Epic fan group on Facebook and stuff. And you guys shared that on Facebook. I see you're active in there a lot and everything. So I guess, I mean, not only getting to connect with people in person and stuff, but like someone caring that much, fans caring that much to have like an online community too. What has that meant to the band? You know, just seeing that pop up over the last couple months.
Well, I'm not in it, partly because I just don't think people want me there. And I don't mean that literally, but I just, I feel like if I say anything there about the songs, then people will like make that the gospel, and we want the songs to be people to be able to grab them and take them. I mean, we definitely have all the songs have a ton of meaning. Most of it's probably really obvious, but there's some nuanced stuff that if I explained, it would keep people from making it theirs, and they've already made it theirs. I don't want them to be wrong.
Yeah, what's interesting about that though is you'll like see those people in that group. They're like dissecting these lyrics and these meanings about what they mean, theology, whatever they put behind it and stuff. And so even though you're not in there, people are still dissecting it, and like
which is what I want. I just don't. I feel like if I talk about it, then people are going to go, "Oh, this was the right answer and that was the wrong answer." And to some degree, like I think the songs are probably pretty obvious on the broad strokes. People are trying to get down to maybe like the trying to figure out why we wrote it or like what events. Because usually we're writing from like specific events that happen in our life, but then you go, okay, this happened to me and this happened to Jeremiah and this happened to Tanner, Jesse, or Nate. And then what is this about on a meta level? How can we write about it on a bigger level instead of just writing a song about, I don't know, about how one of us specifically had a problem. This is a total made-up situation, but how one of us specifically had a problem with the courts in Louisville, Kentucky. Like, well, let's write a song and talk about justice and that kind of stuff. Like, let's get bigger so then people can own it. So it's super flattering that people want to talk about our band that much. It blows my mind. But I'm not in there much. My wife's in there a little bit, and so she tells me the good stuff, and I don't know if there's bad stuff. I don't know too much of it. But Jeremiah definitely has a pretty big role to play in that.
Yeah. So what's it been like for you, I guess, I wouldn't say taking on the role, but maybe getting more involved with the fans and stuff after this release and everything?
Oh, having that group is really, really cool. Like Aaron said, it's super humbling that people would even care or want to gather around us as an entity to kind of communicate, just have a small community on. So it's been a blast. I had no intention of being so involved, but it is fun. I don't really engage social media very often, except for that, and just like to hop on, and if somebody has a question, it's cool to be able to answer it. And I actually do enjoy talking about a lot of the topics that are brought up on there, and so it's been fun to engage. It's been really awesome to see people be able to express differing opinions, and everybody's really respectful. And so I don't really know what the total intention of the group is. I think it's kind of being formed as it goes. So yeah.
It's interesting, like just on a bigger level, like whenever we see social media engagement with like YouTube videos or whatever, it's interesting to see sometimes how far fans are off from like what we intended, and sometimes it's amazing to see how dead on they are.
Yeah.
Like they'll just nail it, and sometimes most of the time people are mostly right, and about what we intended. But I think we would really only speak up and correct somebody if what they took away from it was a negative thing, or a thing that we don't want to be associated with. But it's cool to see people being generally open and having it, and we're glad that people are having that, sparking bigger conversations.
Yeah.
Because those songs, when you get the song, it's like 3 or 5 minutes long, and it's, you know, a couple paragraphs worth of lyrics, but it's grown out of a lot of depth of conversation and life experience. And so when people are dissecting it and having hours worth of conversation, like it kind of makes sense, because we had a ton of stuff to get it to that point. And to, like, you know, with poetry, you're trying to get the most minimal version of something is always the best. If there could be one less word and it's just as strong, then you should get rid of that word.
Yeah.
And when you get to that point where you can't take anything else away, if you take one more thing away, it's going to lose its essence. That's really where we're always trying to land. Like, these are the least amount of words to say this thing really beautifully and concisely. So it's cool to see people pulling it back apart and getting a lot out of it, because that's what we've done with art that's inspired us.
Yeah. You guys dropped an EP last year. You just dropped one this year. And so is this like a yearly thing you're going to try doing? Is this like a series of releases you're trying to do? Or were these two releases just sort of like, I guess, related to each other in some way, shape, or form, that call and answer maybe? Or what are you guys trying to do with like writing going forward? And especially with like streaming, you know, you're putting out more content's always better. So like, is this something you guys are trying to do every year? Or is this just like a little series thing you guys did for these two?
Well, a few years back, we kind of announced that we were going to switch to doing solely EPs and try to put one out a year and do a tour a year. Fortunately, our schedulers are starting to make it available to us to tour more and hopefully even put more music out. So that's why we've been doing, the last few have been EPs. Ultraviolet and Violence, from the beginning, were set to be a pair. Not necessarily a call and answer or even two opposing views. They're actually just like brother-sister albums, dealing with a lot of similar concepts but from just different perspectives. But that was just a two-part thing, and so we haven't totally nailed down what's next, but we're going to get music out as fast as we can and the best music we can. So.
Speaking of that, I guess the one negative thing some fans have said about the EP is, you've probably seen it too in that group, going back to that, is the electronics, the whole auto-tune thing, vocoder. A lot of people are sort of like questioning what's going on here. So you guys trying to push for more of, I guess, I don't know what you want to call it, like a dark synthwave pop type sound, or where are you guys trying to go musically now?
Well, we're interested in all that stuff, and My Epic it's interesting because we've done stuff like that for a while now. Like Behold had elements like that, and Viscera had elements like that, and that's something we've always been interested in. Like, you know, back in the early days, we were just a 3-piece, and we didn't really have the technology to add anything else live, and so we wrote sparsely on purpose, and those limitations created like which is great, but we don't want to make the same record again at all. And so we've always been bringing those things in, like, you know, Spit and Blood and Suneni are some people's favorite songs in the record, and they're one of my favorite, but they're not that far off of Voices, they're not that far off of stuff like Selah and Approach on Behold. And so we just want to keep pushing ourselves and keep growing. And we've always designed this band to have a wide enough dynamic to really do anything we want to do. And those two songs specifically were like, grew out of like, we wanted the record to be 7 songs. And we think a lot about the sequence. Like, how does the record feel? We want it to feel like an experience. And we knew that the record needed, if it was just 7 banging tracks the whole time, we would be a lot of the bands we actually don't like, that just hit. You lose the feeling. It's too much of the same thing. And so the question was, how do we, when we never like oversold it, like we never said like, hey, Violence is going to be a death metal record. Like, it's going to be a My Epic record, and it's going to be violent and it's going to be heavy, but heaviness is more than just us. When we love to slam, we call it slamming. We love to slam, play heavy, giant bass chords and big guitars, giant drums, but there has to be some relief from that, or it doesn't feel, you would lose like if everything sounded like the end of Blacklight, nothing would sound like the end of Blacklight. And so the question was, how do we give the record, we also didn't really want to let up at all until the very end. Like, there's really no release or happiness until the very end of Bad Accents, which was intentional. And so how do we get to that point and keep it kind of unrelenting? And so it was like, how do we make it heavy in a different way? How do we make it unrelenting in a different way? And so Spit and Blood kind of has that like unrelenting, like kind of percussive thing in the background. and it just it disintegrates. And then Sineni is this like dark piece, obviously electronically, but those are just about like we always want to push the limit. And you know, someone else asked us like what were the biggest risks, but for this record in particular, but always for us, anything that feels like a big risk is the stuff that excites us the most. Yeah. Because we've done so much for so long, we've been around for a while now, that like probably what some of people's favorite songs by ours might not be ours, because it's like, well, that's kind of like something we've already written, you know, we don't want it. So just pushing ourselves, and also we have a lot of respect for our fans that even if they didn't love those songs, that they'd be in. You know, they'd go, okay, those are my two favorites, but I'll just love the other tracks. Yeah. Like we're not gonna please anyone all the time. Yeah. But specifically, like, we don't really think a lot about being safe, because we've never been rewarded for that. We've been rewarded personally and by the fans by pursuing whatever felt really of the moment and current and important to us, and then sonically to taking risks. Yeah. So, like, you know, the beginning of White Noises was like a big risk too. It's very different than anything we've done before, and that was like, we were all super pumped about it. So yeah, I mean, if people don't like certain parts of it, like, that's totally fine. Like, then that song's just not for them. Yeah. You know, like, but we're very proud of this, of the whole thing.
Yeah, and it's an EP too, so you kind of got to put like the cream of the crop on there, and so like you can't just like experiment on an album where a few songs can be filler, like just messing around with. You got to like, EP's like, yeah, what, like 6-7 songs on it. You got to like really nail those 6 or 7, and it's like whatever's there is there. So I guess the last thing about it is Cory Brandan from Norma Jean makes an appearance on it, and he does, you know, do his thing on it, but he's singing a lot too. So when you getting him in there, was it like, okay, what do we have him do? We're gonna have him sing, or are we just gonna have him like unleash and just do his like screaming thing, or like what was there a plan for his vocal part on there, or was it just sort of like up to him to do what he did?
Yeah, absolutely. There was a plan from the beginning when we wanted to have him on it. We were like, man, we want to have him on it. We want him to do his singing thing, because we love that. We love his screaming too, but
his voice is unique. His
absolutely,
voice,
it's so good, and he does some really cool things in studio that I didn't even understand what he was doing. That just makes it like his signature thing. And I think it was his call at the end to say, like, man, I've got to scream at the end. It's going to be perfect. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I told him, like, hey, we really want you to sing, because people don't recognize how good he is. But also, it was like, but if there's a place to scream, like, go. To me, like, screaming is like, when it's done without reason, is, to me personally, my opinion, is lame. Like, I'm just not into it. If it's not expressing an appropriate emotion, if you're screaming at me about a sunny day, it just, this is a taste thing, so it's just my opinion. Like, I'm just not, this doesn't resonate with me. So when a person is screaming in the lyrics, so when the song built to those parts that were screamed, it was like, yes, 100%. So we were like, you know, I wrote the melodies and the lyrics, and we talked, and we became friends a couple tours ago, and we sent him the song, and he was automatically in, and I thought he might want to write his own lyrics and stuff, but he was really busy making their new record. And when I sent him what I had, he was like, this is awesome. He made a few tiny changes, and we talked about it. And he just jumped in. He had a bunch of ideas for harmony. Like, some of the crazy harmonies on that, people are probably going to, some people have already assumed it was me, but it wasn't. It was him. Nice. Like, they were his ideas, and it made things more dissonant and weird. And I wouldn't have thought it would have worked, but that dude's a pro. And then the screaming at the end, that last lyric, I don't remember if it was Jeremiah or him. Like, I always have a Google Doc where the lyrics are like, in green if I think they're keepers for sure, yellow if I'm not sure, and then red if it's like the idea but not right. Yeah. And I had like the song done, and then below it I had the last lyric of the song. You have nothing to say to me, so I have nothing to say to you. I didn't even have it highlighted. I was like, nah, that's nothing. And I don't know if it was you or Cory saw it and was like, wait, what about that? And I was like, oh, the song's done. I don't need it. And they're like, oh, you should do that over the end. Like, sick, do it. Like, you know, so it was cool to work with him for sure.
That's dope. Yeah. So I guess the last thing here, what do you guys have, real quick, what do you guys have coming up for the rest of the year? You guys are on tour now. You mentioned probably doing like a tour a year or something like that. Is there anything for the fall plan, or is this literally the only tour of the year you're doing?
It's the only thing planned right now, but we're looking, we're open. We'd love to do more tour. I think we will be doing more touring. Personally, I have a baby on the way in August, but yeah. So that's one like little like bump in the road, you know.
Literally a bump in the road.
Exactly, yeah, pun intended.
Not.
Pun
Well, I
intended.
mean, like,
Yeah.
belly, bump, you know, like belly bump, you know,
That was
like
a pretty dark joke.
a little belly bump, you know, like, you know.
So we recently our life situations have changed a little bit to make us more flexible. So we do want to be on the road more and try to get on more tours, get out to the West Coast, all that stuff. But there's nothing planned right now. But we're looking and we're planning and we're going to do everything we can.
If you're a fan, then just start spamming your other favorite bands and tell them to take My Epic on tour.
Well, see, if you were in the Facebook group, you would have seen that was already a thing. People are like, "What is your like dream tour with My Epic?" And people are just like listing all these bands like Acid East Burn or Norma Jean or.
We toured with 2 of those bands already. Like,
Yeah.
they're both great.
Yeah.
We'll do it again, but.
Yeah, I forgot what I had. I had a good list there. I think I forgot who I had listed on in that comment thread, but I had some pretty good ones I could see you guys going out with. But yeah, so thanks for your time
we've been
today.
talking to other bands. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Thanks for your time today, and looking forward to see you guys tonight.
Thank you, man. We
Thanks, Trent.
appreciate it.
No problem. I'm Trent with SoundlinkTV with My Epic. Thanks for watching.